But that comes to leadership. It goes back to Meeks and,
Oh, yeah.
and Anthony Beale. So if you were alderman, how can you get into the minds of that young woman who's got that 5-year-old, that baby, to teach this young girl, I don't care if she's 15 or 25, to how to raise this young man properly so he can be a business owner, a good suitor for our children and grandchildren,
Well, I would,
daughters.
One of the things I would do, you know, you have these teenage pregnancies. Well, if the girl is pregnant and she's in an alternative school, I would try to figure out a way to send that boy who impregnated her to the school also. I mean, it's so many things that, I mean, we're fighting on so many different fronts, but I think economics is the key. Economics is a Greek word, ekos, which means God. I mean, so if we're going to do anything, economics control politics. Politics don't control economics. We must come up with some economic.
But how do we come up with an economic base when you have 5 families that run everything?
Well, I mean.
Because still, even if you open a store, you got to go to them for the wholesale stuff.
Well, I think part of the issue is the banking is the #1 problem in the black community. We have relationships with currency exchanges. And we need to get relationships with banks. They have these CRAs, Community Reinvestment Act. Go in any bank in the black community and ask for a copy of it, and they have to give it to you on the spot. And which says the CRA thing, which says that they will show you where they're investing their money at. And so if you're putting all your money in these banks, and then these banks don't, in turn, you can't even get a $5,000 loan. You can't get a startup loan to do anything. I think that we should neutralize banks by forming credit unions. I mean, if we form credit unions, there would be no need for us to go to a bank.
I got a little money in the Southside Credit Union. I've been meaning to have them on the show, and we'll hopefully in the spring we'll do that. Caller, we got a few more minutes. You're on Viewpoint Live. Good morning. Good morning. Go right ahead. You're on. They got scared. You dropping them bombs, man. You know, you speak. No, what happens? It's a good show because when you talk.
Oh, come on.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Talk.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah, talk to me.
Okay, Harold, since you are a researcher, what is your understanding of the Moorish Americans, and what part have they played or do they play in Chicago politics? That's the Moorish American Society. I'll let you answer the question.
Well, you know, I'm not sure that what role they play. The Moorish Americans that I know, they're more comfortable at this point working for solutions underground, and when they surface, then you know it's kind of like nobody will be able to stop them. I've worked with a couple of Moorish American brothers, and most of the things that they're doing is solution based, but they're doing it in a kind of like underground way. You know, Noble Drew Ali, very well respected among the Moorish. I have a lot of respect for those brothers. They're all conscious, and sisters are conscious. And I'm attending some of the meetings that they're having, you know, on Monday nights.
I had to sound arrogant and mean, but a lot of people I meet from that group, they seem arrogant. I mean, like it's a Hebrew brother, Yahuda ben Israel. He's the only Hebrew brother I have on the show. It's Hebrew Israelites now. But a lot of these groups, you have the Nation of Islam, the Hebrew Israelites, different forms of them. You have the Moorish side. A lot of folks, they so into their ego and their ideology, they can't sit down and have a conversation. Because I always ask everybody I talk to, I don't care if you're a Nation of Islam or that group and all these little splinter groups or you guys Storefront Church, what are you doing to make sure the neighborhood is safe, clean, with excellent schools? And that's trying to get in the mind of those, because the men abandon their children, we know why, and it's complicated, to get in the mind of that young mama or that crazy grandmother to raise that young man and that young woman properly in the midst of hell. How do we, you know, so if you're not talking about that, I really don't want to hear it. Family is the foundation of all civilization, and none of us talking about family.
72% of all black children are born out of wedlock.
And most of us going to co-parent our children. And now, how are we going to do that? When mama crazy and grandma crazy and you ain't got no job and they busting your balls? How do you do it?
Exactly. I mean, our young people are suffering. I mean, they're self-medicating themselves. I mean, this young man who killed these police officers, I mean, he had a history. He shouldn't have been out on the street.
I used to go to public schools quite often via the Black Star Project, and I stopped because some of the students you talk to, you know they got some real problems, and you can't even conduct a little talk because you got that one or two who are absolutely, they retarded, or they need to be, they got to be taken out of the school. That kid is trouble. That kid, you said they're 10 years old, they say that kid's going to kill somebody 5 years from now, and that system is not geared to say he's got to be taken out and to a boarding school. Send him to boarding school.
Is a big problem
ecstasy?
among young people.
What, ecstasy? In our neighborhood?
In our neighborhoods.
When did it start coming out neighborhood?
It's been here for a minute. We have a sign up on 1708 East 79th Street that said, "Do you know who Batman and Superman are?" And your children know. Well, that's what they call the ecstasy pills, Batman and Superman. So these young people are popping 2 or 3 at a time.
How much it go? How much it cost?
$5 a pill.
Do the mamas and daddy know they popping this
people
stuff?
don't know. I mean, then they pop. They do what they call a session. They wake up in the morning and they smoke a blunt. Then they drink a 40 ounce in the afternoon. Then they pop these ecstasy pills at night. And I would be willing to bet. And now they got this new marijuana out, this hydroponic stuff that they call in white diamond, which is laced with LSD. And so these young people are locked up in Hart Grove Hospital, have not come down off these highs. And I talked to the director over there, Chuck Levy, and he's saying that this stuff is surfacing over and over and it's getting serious. Well, these young people who are doing this killing, most of them are sprung out on ecstasy.